Sthite manasi sushpaste sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smarta vishwarupam cha mamajam tatastam yamanam tu kashta kashana sannibham aham smarami madbhaktam nayami paramam gatim aham smarami madbhaktam nayami paramam gatim Govinda Keshava Janardana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishva Madhusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayana Achyuta Nrasimha Namo Namaste Narayana Achyuta Nrasimha Namo Namaste Padau Yadiyau Prathamadvitiyau. The first two skandhas of Srimad Bhagavatam are the divine lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Bhagavan made a solemn pledge to Uddhava as he was preparing to ascend, go back to Vaikuntha after fulfilling the mission of Krishna Avatara. Bhagavan promised that he shall continue to be accessible to one and all, and he remains accessible to all of us in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, whenever we study, listen to Bhagavatam, we are engaging in a deep conversation with Krishna. Having prostrated to those divine lotus feet yesterday by relishing the summaries of the first two cantos, we move on to relish the summaries of few more skandhas. Tritiya Turyau Khatithau Yaduru Nabhistatha Pancha Eva Sashkaha Bhujantaram Do Yugalam Tatha Yugu. While the first two cantos, the foundational cantos which sets the stage for the journey of Bhagavatam, Skandhas 3 and 4, they deal with the important topics of Sarga, Visarga. We also saw the 10 principal topics. Atra Sargaha, Visargascha. Sarga and Visarga are creation, individual creation. Aggregate creation, individual creation. Creation is a consequence of divine will. Bhagavan creates this entire Brahmanda for only one purpose. It is a playground. It is a playground for him and playground for us as well. The moment we realize that this creation is a playground, it also means we are all players. Life is also meant to be a play. Life is not meant to be a business. The word play means that life and living cannot be based on transactional engagements, transactions which are business-like. We are meant to mimic Bhagavan. This universe is his playground, and therefore we are meant to be participants, co-players. Bhagavan is inviting us to play with him. He is a Leela-dhari, and in his Leela, he doesn't do Leela alone. He wants the Gopikas with him all the time. And therefore, he is constantly calling everyone to join him in that divine play. It is a choice that we need to make. Whether we play with him or we play our own games, and in that process we keep getting stuck in a prison, going deeper and deeper in the darkness of ignorance. So therefore, if we see, Bhagavatam has a very beautiful flow. At the same time, it is also so very logical in the way the skandhas flow towards the crown jewel of Bhagavatam, the Rasa Panchadhyaya. Atra sargaha visargascha sthanam poshanam. So having created, Bhagavan then entrusts the secondary creation to Chaturmukha Brahma. So skandhas 3 and 4 dealing with creation and secondary creation. Visarga is secondary creation. Then after he creates, then after Brahma starts to create individual forms, various classes of beings. Now, where do they dwell? There are places that need to be created in accordance with the nature of the divine beings, according to their own karma. So therefore, Skanda 5 deals with the topic of sthana. Different realms are created in this universe so that different classes of beings can occupy them. Different lokas are created. That also shows how Bhagavan designs the workings, orchestrates the workings of this universe in such a way that within the samsaric cycle, the Baddha Jivas, as they transmigrate from one form to the other, they also keep moving places from one loka to the other depending on their own karma. So therefore, Skanda 5 deals extensively with the topic of sthana. Now, aggregate creation has happened, individual creation has happened, various forms of beings are created, and the various dwelling places for these beings are also taken care of. Now they need to be protected. So therefore, Sarga 6 deals with Poshana. Bhagavan is Rakshaka, Sarvaloka Rakshaka. He only knows to do one thing, Rakshana, nothing else. Because Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara or Laya, all are embedded within Rakshana. We think there are 3 different cosmic functions. But ultimately, if you look at it, deep inside each of these, Bhagavan only does one thing. He is Sarvaloka Suhrid. He is so compassionate. He knows nothing other than Rakshana, other than protection. But the way he protects is not easily understood by us. His protection sometimes is visible, most of the times is invisible. He protects those who are aligned with Dharma. He protects even those who are misaligned with Dharma. He protects those who are confined to the boundaries of Dharma. He protects who transgress Dharma. For him, there is no discrimination whatsoever. We may think that he discriminates, but Bhagavatam beautifully explains through Skanda 6 the concept of Poshana. A mother nurtures all her children. Some of them may be good, some of them may be not so good. Mother does not discriminate. She feeds her children with the same love. A mother's love sees no differences, no distinctions. If a mortal mother can do so, what can Bhagavan do? So therefore, Skanda 6 is to do with Bhagavan's Poshana. And then Skanda 7 deals with Uti. Bhagavan has created, has given everything, all the resources are given, all the forms are created, and then he is constantly protecting. But there is something we also have to do. Life is a divine play, no doubt, but we must to engage, to play the game, we must also know the rules of the game. And after knowing the rules of the game, we must also engage in play. Now, how do we engage in play is up to us. So, Uti means inclination. There can be only two kinds of inclinations. Inclination to love Krishna, inclination not to love him. There is nothing in between. We think there are different grades, different shades. We think we can possibly have one leg here, one leg there. Not possible. Either we are completely aligned with him. No, bhakti, simply put, is total alignment with Bhagavan. 100% alignment. There is nothing like partial alignment and partial misalignment. Doesn't exist. We can all aspire to become bhaktas. But ultimately, if we have to pat ourselves as being bhaktas, we need to measure the degree of our alignment. If it is 100%, we are bhaktas. If it is 99%, we can encourage ourselves saying there is only 1% more to go. So in Skanda 7, Bhagavan discusses the topic of inclination. Those who are inclined, auspicious inclinations, attract his mercy. Many times we question Krishna. Hey Krishna, you are not being merciful. What is this? You have left me alone. Bhagavan's mercy is always there. Are we inclined to receive that mercy? Is the question that we need to ask. Nowadays we don't use the radio transistor. No. If we take the analogy of a radio transistor, a beautiful music in a channel, let's say channel 100, there is a beautiful music being transmitted. The music is there in the air. Now whether I can receive it or not depends on how well I tune my transistor to that frequency. The moment I tune the transistor to the exact frequency, I receive the mellifluous music of Krishna. Otherwise I only receive cacophony of this world. So when there is auspicious inclination, then I attract Krishna's mercy, which is already there. And when there is inauspicious inclination, I just shut Krishna's mercy. It is just like I'm just shutting the door to sun. I'm not receiving sunlight. And then I keep complaining the room is dark. So Skanda 7 deals with the topic of Uti. So today we will try to relish few glimpses from Skanda 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lot to do, but we will only look at some very, very key highlights. Now, Skanda 3 and 4 together, if we see, deal with Sarga and Visarga. Now, Parikshit asks several questions. We saw yesterday Parikshit asked 21 questions. Now, we must thank Parikshit, because without the right questions, there can be no right answers, even in life. Many times we keep asking ourselves, why don't I find solutions to my problems? We must ask ourselves, am I asking the right questions? The problem that we have is we don't ask the right questions to ourselves. Without asking the right questions, we still want the right solutions to come to us. Solutions will never come until and unless we start asking the right questions. Now, Parikshit, on our behalf, asked all the right questions to Shukha. And Shukha was so very patient. He had all the time. Parikshit also had all the time. We must always keep remembering where this conversation was happening and in the what context. Clock was ticking for Parikshit. We may think for Parikshit clock was ticking, he was in a hurry. We have lot of time in life left. Once I retire from life, there is a lot of time for me. Then complete dedication to Krishna only. Until then, there is so much I have to do in life. That sounds very good, but only, slowly we discover as we age, we also discover how our body starts to misbehave so badly. Not only our body, our mind also starts misbehaving so badly. At the age of 6, when we chant a shloka one time, we memorize. At the age of 60, we chant 100 times, we can't memorize a single word. So, Parikshit had 7 days, we may have 70 years or maybe even more. Doesn't matter, every moment in life matters. Now, Shukha, while answering Parikshit's questions, he refers to the beautiful conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. We all know how Vidura was upset. Duryodhana spoke so very badly. Vidura could not stand the injustice what Duryodhana was doing, and Vidura decided that enough is enough, and he walked out of the court of Hastinapura. And then Vidura in his travels meets the supreme Bhakta Uddhava. In many ways, in Canto 3, through Uddhava, we also get to relish Krishna Cheshtitas. But now is not the time to dive into Krishna Cheshtitas because we cannot move on. But Uddhava in Canto 3 shares all the Cheshtitas of Krishna with Vidura. Vidura wants to know, hey Uddhava, I have now got an opportunity. Whenever we get an opportunity, we must ensure that we extract as much as possible the Krishna rasa. So therefore, Vidura asks Uddhava to give a complete narration of Krishna Charita. And in Canto 3, we get to see a beautiful summary of all the Leelas of Krishna, including the glorious Rasa Leela. Uddhava shares that. And then, now Vidura wants more. Vidura says, please teach me the supreme truth. Uddhava, you are the one who can give me that Brahma Jnana, the pathway to moksha. Uddhava says, that is not my job. I request you to go to Badrikashrama, and there Maitreya is waiting. Maitreya, the illustrious disciple of Parashara. He is there. Please go to him and he will answer all your questions. So then Vidura travels all the way to Badrikashrama, and a glorious conversation happens between Vidura and Maitreya. Vidura as Sishya, Maitreya as Guru. Now this conversation is being recounted by Shukha to Parikshit. Bhagavatam is a nested conversation. We see conversations embedded within conversations. So now Shukha is recounting the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. And in that he talks about Sarga and Visarga. He talks about in the process of Visarga, now Brahma has been entrusted with the task of individual creation. Now the beautiful process of individual creation starts. How the Ekadasha Rudras are created, how the Kumaras are created, how the Sapta Rishis are created, then how the Manu, Swayambhuva Manu is created, how Shatarupa are created, all the Manasaputras of Brahma are created. So all the individual creation start to happen. Now individual creation is started. Now Manushas also have to be created. Brahma is now in deep thought. Manushas are to be housed. All of the various classes of beings that are being created, they have been allocated. No, allocation is happening. Just like how we check into a hotel. Different rooms are allocated to different people. satsang there is no gradation. Everybody gets the same kind of a room. But in business events, when you go, some people get first class rooms, some people get second class rooms, some people get third class rooms. Similarly, different class. The devas are given one loka, the gandharvas are given one loka, yakshas are given one loka, and so on. And now manushas had to be given a loka, bhuloka. But bhuloka is not ready. Bhuloka is still immersed in the cosmic waters. So Brahma is in deep thought. Now how Swayambhuva Manu is ready, Shatarupa is ready. They have been given the task. Now in this process of individual creation with all the lokas being created, now we need to see there are always two important dimensions when the creation happens. There is this dimension of space, the lokas. There is a dimension of time. Because creation is subject to the force of time. It is also very important for us to understand the cyclical nature of time. So therefore, Bhagavatam gives us a beautiful account of how our Shastras look at time. Time is not linear. Time is cyclic. And time is also relative. Now what we think as time, how do we define time? That itself is a question which has no easy answer. But for purposes of time, Bhagavatam and our Shastras describe how time is divided. We all know our calendar. Our calendar, we have a day, 24 hours a day, and then 365 days a year, and so on. Now, to give the relativity of time from Bhuloka across to all the lokas, including Brahma in Satyaloka, Bhagavatam deals with how time is looked at. One day of the Devas, one Ahoratra of the Devas, one Devamana is equal to 360 human years. 360. Many of us have relished this many times, but every time we look at time, it always fascinates us. One Devamana is 360 Manushya years. 360 years. One Samvatsara of Manushas is one Devamana. So therefore, 1 year of the Devas is 360 by 360 of Manushas. Now, how do we look at a Chatur Yuga? Chatur Yuga are 4 yugas. Krita, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. Now, one Chatur Yuga is 12,000 Devamanas. 12,000 years. 4,800, 3,600, 2,400, 1,200. 1,200 Devamanas is Kali Yuga. 2,400 is Dwapara Yuga. 3,600 is Treta Yuga. 4,800 is Krita Yuga. All put together is 12,000 Devamana. Now 12,000 Devamana, one Chatur Yuga, how much it translates into human years? 12,000 multiplied by 360. 4,320,000 human years. One Chatur Yuga. Now one Kalpa of Brahma is 1,000 Chatur Yugas. Just one day of Brahma, which means 4.32 billion human years. One Kalpa, one day. One night of Brahma is the same, 4.32 billion human years. Now one day of Brahma is divided into, one Kalpa is divided into 14 Manvantaras. Every Manvantara is 71 Chatur Yugas. 71 multiplied by 14 approximately is 1,000. So therefore, every Manvantara has a Manu. Dharma is established by Bhagavan in every Manvantara through a Manu. The Manu is also the original progenitor of that particular Manvantara. So a Kalpa is divided into Manvantaras, 14 Manvantaras. Every Manvantara is divided into Chatur Yuga. And every Chatur Yuga is divided into 4 further Yugas. Now the current Brahma is a middle-aged Brahma. 50 years is already over. He is looking at the second part of his lifespan. 50. That is why we say Dvitiya Pararthe Shweta Varaha Kalpe. Now when we do Sankalpa, this is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. The Sankalpa reminds us of the eternity of time. We may think, what is this? This seems to be eternity. This is so thousands of years, but ultimately, even Brahma has a lifespan of Brahma's 100 years. We may think Brahma's 100 years is what? One kalpa is 4.32 billion. So which means one night and one day, 4.32 into 2 into 360. 311 trillion years plus is Brahma's lifespan. We may think that is too long. A mosquito will look at a human being and say, oh, this being is living forever. Similarly, when we look at Brahma, we may think lifespan is forever. It is all relative. Ultimately, everything in creation has an expiry date. Now, therefore, time, what do we learn from time? Time can be a fire in which we can burn, or it can be a teacher from which we can learn. Either we burn or we learn. And therefore, in the process of Sarga and Visarga, the fascinating topic of time is also taught. Now, Swayambhuva Manu is ready, Shatarupa is ready. They have been given the task of creating progeny. But Bhuloka is not ready. Brahma therefore is worried. What shall I do? No, Brahma also is constantly chanting the Vedas. Yesterday, there was a question that is asked. What happens to the Vedas after Pralaya? When Pralaya happens, what happens? Everything goes back to Bhagavan. Now, Vedas are intact all the time. And when creation happens and individual creation happens, Brahma is constantly chanting the Vedas. Vedas are like the background score that is going on as the creation and the secondary creation is happening. Now, Brahma is now deep in thought. How am I going to retrieve Bhuloka, which is now submerged in cosmic waters? Now, Vichitra Ishvara Sankalpa, all of a sudden, a unique divine being emerges from Brahma's nose. A small, tiny creature. And then all the rishis, the Sanat Kumaras, everybody were looking at in awe. What is going on? And the small creature starts to grow in size. And it starts growing into gigantic proportions. And before Brahma could realize, he could see a massive being, huge in form, massive in size, and then he sees it has a very unique form. A form with a nose that is too long, a form which he has not seen ever before. The very, very first avatara of this very kalpa is the Varaha avatara. Adi Varaha. That is why he is called Shweta Varaha Kalpa. Dvitiya Pararte Shweta Varaha Kalpe. We belong to the Kalpa where the first avatara that happened. So therefore, when we relish avatars, we popularly call Dashavataras. So Dashavataras are not to be taken to be chronological in order. The current Kalpa, the very first, now I am not talking about this Chaturyuga, the 28th Chaturyuga. Now avatars keep happening in all the Chaturyugas. There are Manvantara avatars. Every avatara, there are avatars across Manvantaras, and there is also avatars that are related to Kalpa. So therefore, Bhagavatam or the other Puranas only capture, we can call them as time capsules. They do not give chronology of events as they happened. So therefore, the Varaha Avatara that we know as very popular is the Avatara where he slayed Hiranyaksha. That Varaha Avatara happened in Chakshusha Manvantara, 6th Manvantara. But the first Varaha Avatara is Adi Varaha, Shweta Varaha Kalpa, beginning of the Shweta Varaha Kalpa. The Kalpa got its name because of Varaha, Shweta Varaha. Therefore, Bhagavatam says, Dvitiyam tu bhavayasya rasatalagatam mahim uddharishan upadatta yajneshaha saukaram vapuho. He is Yajneshaha. The entire creation is Yajna. The entire secondary creation is Yajna. Every avatara of Bhagavan is Yajna. The entire form, the Bhagavan's Divyamangala Vigraha, every anga, every part of the body is part of the divine yajna that was going on, and how he is the very embodiment of yajna, and yajna varaha is yajneshaha. Saukaram vapuhu. Sukara. Sukara means, today we call it sukara as boar. Sukara means that which makes a peculiar nasal sound is sukara. Now varaha, today we call varaha as boar. Therefore we say the avatara which has boar-like face. Wrong. The boars are blessed to have Bhagavan's like face during his avatara. So very, very important to understand, because Bhagavan did not take the form of a boar. The boars were not created at the time of Varaha avatara. He took a divine form which had a long protruding nose, which today we identify that with what we see. Now sometimes we need material analogies in this world with which we can relate. So therefore many times our Shastras explain things which are beyond our intelligence by using analogies that we can perceive, easily relate to. So therefore when we say Varaha boar-like, he is not boar-like. The boars are like Varaha avatara. Similarly, how many times people ask this question, why God is human-like? Again, wrong question. We should say, how blessed we are that we are God-like. Human beings are so very blessed. We are at the highest end of the creation in terms of the capabilities and the endowments. Bhagavan decided to give a beautiful form to us, almost an image of himself, and therefore we should not be asking this question as to, we created human-like forms. No, Bhagavan created beings which resemble his form. And similarly here, Yajneshaha Saukaram Vapuhu Rasatala Gatam Mahim. The whole idea was Bhagavan had to resurrect Mother Earth, which was immersed in cosmic waters. Now Brahma was contemplating what we learn right here, right at the time of Visarga, a very important lesson. Iti abhidhyayato nasa vivarat sahasanaga varahotoka niragad ankushta parimanaka. Varaha, angushta size came out. But Brahma decided one thing. He decided, I do not know what to do now. But I know one thing. The one who created me knows what should happen. So therefore, let me just go with what happens, because the one who created me knows what should happen now. Very important lesson for all of us. Many times we are also come to that crossroads, not knowing what to do. What is that? In that time, we must tell ourselves, let Bhagavan give us that direction. The one who has taken me from wherever I was to wherever I am also knows where I should be going next. So Brahma then and there surrendered, and it is in that surrender Varaha Avatara happens. When Brahma surrendered to Bhagavan, Narayana decided to manifest as Varaha Avatara, and as he suddenly appeared and he started growing. Now this is where we see how he is Yajnesha, and why he takes the avatar of Varaha in that way. Bhagavatam beautifully describes this. Granena prithivya padavim vichigran krodapadeshaha swayam advarangaha karaladamshaha api akaraladribhyam utpeksha vipran granato avishatkam. Now all the devatas all the rishis are all excited to see how Bhagavan is now going to resurrect Mother Earth, and they are all starting to give their prayers. What did Bhagavan do? Granena prithivya padavim vichigran. Prithvi is Mother Earth, and Bhagavan, it seems he jumped into the cosmic waters, Rasatala, and he started to smell Granena prithivya with his nose. Now, we need to now understand the secret of Varaha Avatara. Why did Varaha take this form? Many times we keep asking this one. One thing we diligently ask. We don't ask many questions, the right questions, but many wrong questions we ask. Why did Krishna did like this? Why did this avatara happen like this? All these questions which are not needed to be asked, we ask. But luckily for us, our scriptures give answers to every question, right and wrong questions. Now, we need to know that in the process of creation, all the Panchabhutas, each of the Panchabhutas have a dominant guna, a dominant tanmatra. The Panchabhutas are products of Panchatanmatras through the process of Panchikarana. Now, every Panchabhuta has a corresponding one of the Panchatanmatras, a guna, and which is then related to one of the Pancha Indriyas. So this is the beauty of creation. All are products of Prakriti, Achit Tattva. So when we take Akasha Panchabhuta, the dominant guna is Shabda. The corresponding Indriya, Shrotra. The corresponding Indriya here. Then Vayu, principal guna, Sparsha. The corresponding Indriya, Tvak, skin. Agni, the principal guna, Rupa. The corresponding Indriya, Chakshu, eyes. Apaha, water. The corresponding guna, Rasa. And the corresponding Indriya, tongue, Jihva. And then Prithvi, the dominant guna, Gandha. The corresponding Indriya, Grana, nose. Now, Prithvi is lost. What is the dominant guna of Prithvi? Gandha. Now, how can we discover, how should one discover Prithvi which has the dominant guna of Gandha through Grana, through nose. So therefore, Granena Prithivya Padavim Vijigran Kroda Padesha. So he assumed the form of a kroda which has a protruding nose. If I need to smell well, I need to have a good nose. Not a small nose, a big nose, a huge nose that can smell and discover Prithvi that was lost. Therefore, Varaha Avatara has a protruding nose, and today we call it boar-like. The boars are blessed. Even the boars are blessed. This is the way we need to say, we need to look at it. And therefore, Bhagavan jumps into Rasatala and he retrieves Mother Earth. And what a glorious sight as Bhagavan retrieves Bhudevi, and then as he comes out, all the rishis and all the devatas are excited. Rishavyu vacha jitam jitam te ajita yajna bhavana tarim tanum swaparidhunvate namaha yadro magatteshu niriyur adhyaha tasmai namaha karana sukarayate tasmai namaha karana sukarayate. Hey Gesha, you are karana sukaraya tasmai namaha. They all prostrate to him. Thus, right at the beginning of the Kalpa, Varaha lifted Bhudevi. Bhagavan constantly keeps doing the same job. He also teaches one very important thing. Practice in anything is fundamental. To do anything good, Bhagavan always does good things. But how do you think he does every time? Whatever he does is good, because he keeps practicing all the time. Later on, he has to do the ultimate good of rescuing the Gopikas from the ocean of samsara. So therefore, right at the beginning of the Kalpa, he decides, let me start practicing. Now, first let me retrieve Bhudevi from the ocean of cosmic waters, so that I am well prepared to retrieve my Gopikas from the ocean of samsara. So it is that practice that Varaha started, which eventually led to how Krishna effortlessly managed to retrieve the Gopikas of Vraja from the deep ocean of samsara. And Varaha Avatara, therefore, is the precursor to Rasa Krida in many ways. In Canto 3, thus, the Visarga is set into motion. Now, Bhuloka has happened, and further narration on all the forms that are created on planet Earth goes on. And in that process, the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu is also discussed. Swayambhuva Manu has 3 daughters, Akuti, Prasuti, Devahuti, and 2 sons. Two sons, they are Priyavrata and Uttanapada. Now talking about Devahuti immediately, then Shuka narrates how Devahuti was given in marriage to the illustrious Kartama Prajapati. Now, the duty of Prajapatis were also created. They are Manasaputras of Brahma. They are entrusted with the task of multiplying progeny. And Kartama Prajapati married Devahuti. In fact, this is this is the first Vaidika Vivaha to have ever happened in this particular Kalpa. The first Vaidika Vivaha. Kartama Prajapati marries Devahuti. Grand Vaidika Vivaha happens. Very grand celebrations. And Devahuti performs severe tapasya. And she is emaciated completely. She loses all her energy, all her vitality because of her tapasya. But then Kartama Prajapati blesses her with youthhood. And then Devahuti wants to enjoy family life for 100 years. The Kartama Prajapati creates a nice vimana in which both of them keep traveling, enjoying worldly life. And then they are blessed with abundance of children. And then Bhagavan decides to take the avatara as the son of Kartama Prajapati and Devahuti, and another avatara gets introduced, the glorious Kapila avatara. Kartama Prajapati decides that now is the time to take sannyasa, but Devahuti unfortunately is still attached to worldly life. She is unable to reconcile that she is going to lose everything now. Now Kartama Prajapati knows he has entrusted the responsibility in the hands of Kapila. Kapila therefore answers Devahuti's questions. Devahuti says, "Hey Kapila, to her own son, I am now unable to understand how to stop chasing problems away from life, because I have been somehow trying to chase away problems, but the more I chase problems away, the more they seem to be pouring in. What is this? Why is this happening? I want to know how I can manage the dualities of life. Pleasures and pains are alternating all the time. I do not understand. I am constantly being subject to afflictions of this body. This body is aging. The aging process is accelerating as time progresses on. I am subject to all kinds of afflictions, disease, all kinds of diseases, all kinds of mental afflictions like agitations, desires, jealousy, egotism, anger. How do I overcome all this? How do I find the pathway to ultimate peace, ultimate bliss? And it is in that process a glorious conversation happens. This is a beautiful conversation between a son and his mother. And Bhagavan instructs his own mother. Kapilas tattva sankhyata Bhagavan atmamayaya jataha ajaha swayam sakshat atma pragyapyate nranam jnana vairagya yuktena bhakti yogena yoginaha kshemaya padamulam me pravishanti akutho bhayam. Now the first task that Kapila had was to remove the fears of his own mother, because at the root of everything is the fear that we have, and this fear is the outcome of our own attachments. Kapila makes a very bold statement to Devahuti. Hey mother, our entanglement in the samsara is not caused by attachment, he says. You think you are attached to everything and therefore you are in fear, you are in samsara. He says, samsara is not because you are attached, it's not caused by your attachment, it is actually caused by your detachment. Now Devahuti is surprised. How can you say this? This is exactly what happened to Arjuna also. Until the first 6 chapters of the Gita, Krishna keeps talking about detachment. You have to practice detachment. And then towards the end of the first Shadga of the Gita, after 6 chapters, he says, Arjuna, no, I said detachment is not the cause of your liberation. Detachment is actually the cause of your entanglement. Arjuna is also now confused, just like how Devaki is. He says, Detachment from me is the cause of your entanglement, Arjuna. Therefore, it is not detachment from the world that is critical, it is attachment to Krishna that is more important. Because when we attach to Bhagavan, the detachment becomes a byproduct. The detachment from the world becomes byproduct. Until then, we are putting in our effort to detach from the world. Not possible. We fail. We fail miserably. Every time I put my effort to stay detached from the world, I keep failing. Then I learn the moment I start attaching to Krishna, a mysterious force takes over. A force that is even more greater than the force of this world. And that is the force which can drag me away from the force of this world. And therefore, this is what here, all our attachments, He Devahuti, Kapila says, they are all only because they promise something to you. What do they promise? Every attachment we can think of. They promise either safety, security, or comfort. But unfortunately, these attachments, while they promise, they don't fulfill this promise. None of these attachments give real security, real safety, real comfort. So therefore, we only end up being disappointed, disgruntled, and we are in a state of anguish all the time. So therefore, he says, and there Kapila teaches Tattva Jnana, and more importantly, he starts with Sankhya. He teaches all the tattvas of Prakriti. You may wonder sometimes, why is it necessary to study Prakriti? We must know who our enemy is first. If we don't know who our enemy is, we don't even know what is the battle we are fighting. We are all fighting battles not knowing who our enemy is. Our body is our enemy. Our mind is our enemy. Our own intelligence is also our enemy. Because they are all products of Prakriti. Therefore, Kapila's teachings are primarily Sankhya Tattva, or all the Tattva. Study of matter also matters. Also matters, but it is not the only matter. That is also there. But why it matters? Because it helps us in 4 different ways. Deconstruction, redirection, elevation, and eventually utilization. 4 things that study of matter helps us. Deconstruction. The moment we start to deconstruct matter, detachment from matter automatically happens. Everything that looks beautiful in this world, the moment you start deconstructing what it comprises of, the moment the skin goes, we know how beautiful human form is. All the beauty which seems to enchant us and entice us is very artificial, superficial. Everything that, the moment we see everything is Panchabhutas, the fascination immediately ends. Everything is mud, everything is fire, everything is water, everything is space. Where is the fascination? Therefore, the moment we start deconstructing, even science says, every form is only a bundle of molecules. What is there in molecules? Why we are fascinated with bundles of protoplasm floating around? Why should we be? The moment we know that every body is just bundles of protoplasm, the attachment to the body, the vairagya automatically will start growing. So therefore, we have to necessarily deconstruct matter. Not only that, then redirection. We must also accept that there is beauty in this world. All of us are beautiful. Don't be worried that immediately I'm saying that none of us are beautiful. You're all very beautiful. You're all beautiful because Bhagavan has given us beautiful forms. But study of matter also helps us in redirection. By looking at everything that is beautiful, we also must understand that beauty is a spark is a manifestation of the spark of Krishna's beauty. So therefore, enjoying beauty in this world is essentially redirecting our enjoyment to Krishna. Everything that is beautiful, which means I'm experiencing Krishna. In everything beautiful that I experience, I'm experiencing Krishna. So therefore, there is no way that I cannot experience Krishna because I'm always seeking to experience beauty. So redirection. Then the third is elevation. We learn so much from matter. Everything that is around teaches us something. The Gopikas of Vraja teach us how to do all of this. They have deconstructed matter to such an extent, for them, their bodies don't matter anymore. They are the most beautiful people on this planet, even more beautiful than Krishna. But to them, their beauty doesn't matter because they understand the insignificance of mundane, mortal beauty. And they also have redirected everything Krishna, the Gopikas. Now, what Kapila was teaching looks like Gopikas were hearing. Not only Devahuti, Gopikas were also listening. They are also getting prepared. And not only redirected, elevation. How do they elevate? Everything that is around teaches something. The Gopikas of Vraja are looking at the clouds and they're saying how blessed the clouds are. They are able to serve Krishna more than we can serve. When Krishna is in the hot sun, the clouds, it seems, they fight with each other, then they come to become protective umbrella. The Gopikas of Vraja are looking at how blessed what kind of punya karma the clouds have done. They are looking at the trees. The trees are giving beautiful fruits to Krishna. What kind of punya karma the trees have done. They are looking at the peacocks and they are saying that the peacocks are so blessed. Krishna is choosing only to adorn himself with the peacock feather. We are not blessed. Looking at the flute, how blessed is the flute is. Krishna chooses to kiss the flute with his divine lotus lips. We don't get that opportunity. Mundane things, they are elevated. Everything can be elevated. The Gopikas teaches how even mundane, mortal things can get elevated. And eventually the fourth important reason to study Sankhya is utilization. All things, resources that are given to us is meant for only one purpose. All the resources in this creation, including our body, including our senses, including our mind, including our intelligence, the Gopikas once again teach what Kapila taught Devahuti. Gopikas practice how everything can be offered, everything can be utilized. The mundane can be utilized to attain that which is unattainable, and that's the beauty. Therefore, Kapila teaches very important thing as to how to cultivate thinking of Krishna constantly. Now, we have this question. Constant remembrance of Krishna is recommended, but how is it possible? How it is practical? Kapila teaches how this constant thinking can be constant. It is not just redirecting our thoughts, it is also redefining our thinking. Every time we look at something, it is not just Krishna is this, not just another object to direct our thought. We also need to expand our perspective and redefine our conception of who He is. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhaha mattas sarvam pravartate. So everything that I see, I can connect it with Krishna. Everything can be seen in connection with Krishna. This is what the Gopikas teach. There is nothing which is separated from Him. And therefore, like Krishna teaches in the Vibhuti Yoga, there is nothing which is disconnected from Him. So therefore, constant thinking should therefore come to us effortlessly by not only redirecting our thoughts, but by redefining the way we think. And that is what Kapila teaches. Tada Purusha Atmanam Kevalam Prakate Param Nirantaram Swayam Jyotihi Animanam Akhanditam. Kapila teaches beyond this Deha, which is product of Prakriti, how do we discover our true identity? The true identity that is Nirantaraha Swayam Jyotihi, that is self-effulgent, which is endowed with limitless jnana, which is jnana swarupa, which is jnana gunaka, which is beyond this body, animanam akhandita, which is immortal. Dwelling within the mortal body is the immortal Atma. And he teaches for this Atma what is the perfection of its dharma. Now, see the beauty as to how the definition of dharma also keeps getting refined in the Bhagavata. Yesterday we were also discussing Dehalabha, Atmalabha. Dharma related to Deha, Dharma related to Atma. The perfection of dharma, Kapila is teaching, is not just to fall in line with the cosmic law, with the law. Doing Deha Dharma is to fall in line. But the perfection is eventually to fall in love, not with the law, with the lawmaker. That is the perfection of Dharma. And the Gopikas of Vraja teaches that supreme secret. Na yujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavati akilatmani sadrishosti shiva panta yoginam dhamma siddhaye. The perfection in attaining that supreme Brahman, Bhagavan, is essentially lies. The perfection of all our dharma comes through devotionally serving Bhagavan, and therefore Kapila establishes the importance of Bhakti Yoga. Then in Visarga is dealt with in Canto 4. Now after the dealing with the lineage of Swayambhu Manvantara through Ahuti, Prasuti, Devahuti, now he takes up the descendants of Uttanapada. Now descendants of Uttanapada immediately remind us of the glorious Dhruva. No? Therefore in that context Dhruva Charita is recounted. Uttanapada had two wives, Suruchi, Suniti, and Dhruva was not given the fortune of his own father's lap, to sit on his own father's lap. He was denied that opportunity, and therefore he was not only shocked that in spite of being the son of the king, he did not have access, and therefore Suniti gave him the path. Basically said, you have to go and find your own way. And Dhruva was told, you too can have access to the lap of your father. You too can have access to the throne. So Dhruva's journey begins on an interesting note. Of fulfilling worldly desires. We must understand this. Dhruva's journey in many ways reflects our journeys too. Dhruva did not start his journey thinking of moksha, but he got the right direction thanks to his guru Narada. What is important is to get the direction right. We do not need to be worried that on this journey that we are also looking towards fulfilling material desires. Dhruva also started the journey. Now the transmutation or transformation of these material desires into spiritual desires will happen over a period of time. In many ways, where Dhruva's journey starts, the journey ends with the journey of the Gopikas. The material desires getting converted 100% into spiritual desires. The material desires, the journey starts in Skanda 4. The fulfillment, the transformation happens in Dashama Skanda, the Gopikas. So in many ways, Dhruva's journey extends. Dhruva's individual journey stops, but the journey of bhakti continues. I talked about this growing of bhakti lata. Now we must be constantly looking at where is our bhakti lata now. The seed is already there. Now we have started to water the seed, and then it is slowly sprouting, growing, and now Dhruva Charita shows that it started to grow. It's getting the right direction, and in that process, but then we will eventually see the fruit is going to come in the Dashma Skanda. Therefore, it reflects, Dhruva Charita is a reflection of the initial stages of the journey of the Gopikas, and therefore Dhruva meets luckily Narada. And Narada gives him a very important medicine, the most potent medicine, a medicine that will cure of all fears, a medicine that will destroy all obstacles that can come in the way of Dhruva, the medicine that we have started to partake as many times as possible. And we will also know why that medicine is even more important for us to take as we journey further today. Narada looks at Dhruva and he says, now the Guru is initiating the Sishya. So therefore the Guru is giving the Mahamantra to Sishya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantrenanena Devasya Kurya Drabyamayim Buddha Spashaya Vividher Drabya Desha Kala Vibhagavit. Hey Dhruva, you must now follow the procedure. So Narada gives him how to do Bhagavad Aradhana. Now we have to do Bhagavad Aradhana throughout the day, whatever we do. But one particular time of the year, a particular time of the day, the year comes in, that is what we all do. But one particular time of the day, we also have to engage in proper prescribed ritual of establishing the deity and doing the puja, the worship as per the Shastras. And here now Dhruva is being told how he can invoke the omnipotency of Narayana in the Vigraha of Narayana. Vigraha Aradhana is so very important. Many times we take it so very light. We think Vigraha Aradhana is possibly not something which evolved spiritual beings will do. Throughout the history of Sanatana Dharma, we see all the great Mahatmas have prescribed Vigraha Aradhana as fundamental to the path of devotional service. Therefore, here Narada is prescribing how to do Vigraha Aradhana, and he also gives the Mahamantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Dhruva chanted it not once, not chanted it twice. We are also taking account of how many chants we will see today. What is going to be our count? Do we have a gap? Do we have a surplus? We don't know. But then, surplus or a gap, Krishna will ensure that we will always exceed his expectations. Now Dhruva went on chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Days passed by, months passed by, years passed by, and he started such an intense tapasya that finally Bhagavan decided that it is time to appear in front of Dhruva. And what a glorious darshana that Dhruva was bestowed with. Narayana, when he descended as Vaikunthanatha with his Chaturbhuja and with all his ayudas intact. He presented himself to Dhruva. Dhruva was thrilled, he was ecstatic. But Dhruva was a little boy. He did not go through the process of studying the Shastras. So therefore, he was bewildered. Such a glorious form, such a beauty, but he had no word to describe. Sometimes this is also what happens to us many times. One of the things, the reason why we also need to study and practice stotras and stutis. Because many times we stand in front of Bhagavan and he is so very enchanting and so very beautiful. We are at loss. What do I say? And then to fill the gap, we started saying, give me this, give me that, give me this. It's a long list. Because there is a gap, we come up with our own list. Now we should ensure that that list does not come. Therefore, we need to know some stotra, some stuti, which will please Bhagavan. And when we chant it, we also experience him through that stuti, through that stotra. Now, Dhruva was bewildered. Nobody taught me. Nobody taught me. How do I pray to you? How do I describe you? You are beautiful. But then how do I describe this beauty? My words cannot capture the very essence of your beauty. Bhagavan says, do not worry. He gently takes his Panchajanya and he touches with his Panchajanya the forehead of Dhruva. Brahmanatvat chayadrupam brahma samnitam tasmai namaste sarvatman yogi chintaye avikarane sahasrasirsha purusha sahasraksha sahasrabad sarvavyapi bhuvaha sparshasad atyadishtat shangulam. That little child who had no study of the Shastras starts to come up with a profound description. Yo anta pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevatmi akila shakti dharaswadhamna anyamsta hasta charana shravatva adin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Om namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Now I understand that you are the one who enlivens me. You are the one who revitalizes me. That every pore of my body comes to life because of you. You are the prana of my prana. Without you, I am nothing. Every word that I can speak of, the shabda that I can create, essentially is because of your grace. You are the one, by flowing through me, make me to do every action that is possible. I am a living miracle. Dhruva says, I am a living miracle. We are all living miracles. We go searching for miracles to happen without realizing that we are all miracles. I am talking, I am a miracle. You are listening, you are a miracle. We are all existing here under this roof, it's a miracle. And therefore Dhruva says, every moment is a miracle. I must express my gratitude for you, hey miracle maker. I don't need to search for it. And Dhruva goes on with an scintillating stuti, which is called Dhruva stuti. And we see how as the stuti progresses, the shabda that comes out also cleanses Dhruva. His own material desires. He had come to ask for something which is very, very trivial, mundane. All that he wanted was a place on his father's lap. That's it. Nothing else. That Dhruva, who came to ask for something so very mundane, he then realized that how he has wasted everything, and therefore his desires to get transformed. And eventually he says, but then unfortunately Dhruva also falls a little bit short, because the journey still doesn't end. The journey has to move on to the Shamaskanda. So he asks, give me the highest reward in this planet. So Bhagavan ends up giving him the Dhruva Loka. Dhruva gets Dhruva Loka, the gopis get Krishna Loka, Vaikuntha. Therefore we see how we should not stop the Bhakti Lata growing. In the case of Dhruva, it stopped. It still has not blossomed into a flower which can eventually bear the fruit. Not yet. We have to wait until we reach Rasa Panchadhyaya. Therefore, Dhruva Charita ends. And then in the process of Dhruva Charita, also Shuka narrates the whole lineage of Uttanapada. And then he talks about the Charita of Anga, Vena, and through Vena, who was then churned, and because Vena was wicked and he was killed by the rishis, and therefore in order for the lineage to continue, Vena was churned, and from the churning process of Vena appeared Prithu. Bhagavan appears in the form of Prithu Avatara. He is the one who decides to cultivate Mother Earth. So the first time agriculture was practiced goes way back to the time of Prithu, the practice of agriculture. Now remember a few things. Remember Narada's instruction, his Guru Adesha to Dhruva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Remember the glorious avatara of Prithu that has happened. I'm saying remember because we will connect all of this eventually. And then in the lineage of Prithu came Prachina Barihishit. And it is to Prachina Barihishit the allegory of Puranjaya was narrated. And Prachina Barihishit's sons were Prachetas. And it is through Prachetas eventually the progeny is multiplied. The lineage goes on. And then we move on to 5th skanda. 2 more skandas to go. 5th skanda. 5th skanda deals with the lineage of Priyavrata. Priyavrata's sons. Now in the process of lineage of Priyavrata's sons Agnidra ruled the entire Jambudvipa, and then Agnidra's sons, one of the sons, he had nine sons, one of them was Nabhi. 9 varshas, the Jambudvipa was divided into 9 varshas, and one of the varshas is Bharata Varsha. Now it is in this sarga, in this skanda, 5th skanda, the entire cosmic arrangement, sthana. So therefore, ancient geography, astronomy, astrology, all are beautifully described. Geography, astronomy, astrology are all interconnected, and the description of all the lokas, the description of Jambudvipa, description of Bharata Varsha, description of Bharatakanta are so beautifully described that we can actually trace even today the geography of India, the mountains, the rivers, they are all beautifully quoted. Originally, India was called, we all know India as Bharat, but before it was Bharat, it was Nabhi Varsha, because named after King Nabhi. Now Nabhi's son was Rishabhadeva. Rishabhadeva again avatar of Narayana. Rishabhadeva's son was the illustrious Bharata. Our land got the name Bharata Desha because it was ruled by the son of Rishabhadeva, Bharata. It is this Bharata who eventually became Jada Bharata. Continuing with the Bharata, there is also the legend of Jada Bharata. We all know that it is not the time now to dive into the Jada Bharata Charita, but we must here know that in the 5th skanda, the entire geography is detailed, and in that process, the lineage of Priyavrata is also given to us. Then comes the 6th skanda, very important skanda. Why it is very important? Because it talks about the poshana, protection. Here it is very categorical. Bhagavan protects everybody. Those who are against dharma are also protected. We must realize that Krishna protects all the time. We may let go of Krishna, but Krishna never lets go of us. It's like we are falling deep into a cliff. We don't realize that. Sometimes a fall can also be thrilling. Until and we realize where we are falling. It can be will be very thrilled. That's why you say, somebody is falling from a mountain, is falling deep, but then he's also tasting honey. And then as he's falling, he's thinking, oh, tasteful it is. And he's looking around, and we all have this thrill for speed. And we think, what a thrilling ride it is, not knowing we are actually crashing. Therefore, falling in samsara is this fall. But then we don't realize that we have the opportunity to reverse this. Anytime, wherever we are. It is not that, when we are falling from a mountain, somebody standing on the mountain should, hold us so that they can pull us back. But Bhagavan is omnipotent. His hand is available at everywhere. Not just at one point. Wherever the stage of our fall, His hand is readily available. So we may let go of Him, but He will never let go of us. But there is also one more subtle message that we need to understand, where the Shastras do not directly say. They say we must hold Him. It is not that we must hold Him. He is already holding us. We must let Him hold us. This is the only problem. The problem we have is we don't let Him hold us. It's like a little child to cross the road along with the mother. The mother is holding the child. All that the child needs to do is let the mother do the necessary to cross. If the child wants, no, I will cross the road by myself, a vehicle will come and hit. Exactly, we are being hit by vehicles all the time, falling deep into samsara. So therefore, Krishna says, wherever we are in this fall, His protection is available. Just because somebody is fallen 10,000 feet does not mean His protection is not available. I'm not sure whether we have fallen 10,000 feet or 10 million feet in the deep ocean of samsara, because that amount of papa karma and punya karma we have accumulated. But through Ajamila Charitra, Bhagavan gives a very important message. He is there to protect us all the time. We know the Charita of Ajamila. Ajamila did every atrocity that is possible. All the sin, every possible sin that can be committed, if you have to list, he has committed all of that. Sometimes listening to Ajamila Charitra, when I say listening to Charitra, listening to half of the Charitra. Normally we take that portion which is convenient to us, and then we make our own conclusions. So we take all the portion which says Ajamila committed every possible atrocity, Ajamila committed every possible sin, and then eventually at the time of death he just mentioned Narayana once, which was the name of his son. Immediately he got moksha. Therefore all that we need to do is mention Narayana once, commit whatever you want in this very life. Narayana is there to take care of us. What a beautiful conclusion. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. Because we only know half. Not even half, quarter. 3/4 of Ajamila Charitra we forget to even study. Now, through Ajamila Charitra, we know that at the time when Ajamila was about to die, he called out. He called out his son. And Veena ji yesterday guessed the answer to the question, the game that we were playing. Narayana is also a character in Bhagavatam. Narayana is Bhagavan Narayana, Ajamila's son. You must know one thing. Ajamila was a Pandita. He was a Brahmana. He studied the Vedas. So, Shastra Jnana was there very much with him. He was only forgetful. He was not ignorant. There is a difference here. Forgetfulness, ignorance. No, ignorance is worse. Forgetfulness is slightly better. No, I'm not saying forgetfulness is not worse. I'm saying relative. No, when we talk about relativity, we have to take into this account. So he was forgetful. He got caught in the cycle of the sin of desires, and therefore in that process he forgot his own nature, he forgot what he studied, therefore he forgot who is his Rakshaka. And then when he called out to Narayana, called out to his son Narayana, now all of us ask this question, by calling out to Narayana, how come he was saved? What we need to understand here the glory and significance of Bhagavan Nama is being highlighted. The moment Narayana Shabda was uttered, the Narayana Shabda has such a power to it. Then it seems the moment he uttered Narayana Shabda, he was about to die. Now that Shabda, Bhagavan manifests as Shabda. He is Shabda Brahman. And Shabda has a very potent power. It can purify. Immediately, that Shabda entered Ajamila. Therefore, Ajamila knowingly or unknowingly invited Bhagavan back within him. Now, by entering him through his ears, the Shabda entered and the purification process started. At the moment a little bit of purification started, he realized what atrocities he has committed then and there on his deathbed. And there he started asking for repentance then and there. He realized who is the Rakshaka. Now it is the reciprocation to the power of Narayana Nama. Narayana did not come, Narayana's Dutas came. Vishnu Dutas came. As Yamadutas were taking away Ajamila, Vishnu Dutas came and a glorious conversation happens between Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. Ajnanat atava jnanat uttama shloka nama yat sankirtitam agham pumsah dahet yedo yata naraha. Uttama shloka. Bhagavan is uttama shloka. Narayana is uttama shloka. No. And the beauty of Narayana Nama is being highlighted here. The chanting of the Nama, the power of Narayana Nama. Just like how it is the nature of fire to burn. Now, I don't need to know the chemical, physical properties of fire. I don't need to know the nature of how fire works. But I take fire and put it to grass will be burned to ashes. Similarly, I don't need to know what Narayana Shabda stands for. I don't need to know. But the Shabda itself has the power to burn away sins, to burn away Papa Karma. And therefore, the process of burning away of the Papa of Ajamila started then and there. Uttama shloka namayat sankirtitam agham pumsah dahedeto yatanalaha. Bhagavan in Gita says, apichet duracharah mam ananya bhak sadhurevacha mantavyah samyak yavasito hi saha. Even a durachara, the moment he starts to look towards me, he becomes a dharmatma, he says. So therefore, Ajamila has become a dharmatma. No, falling down is not a failure. Choosing to stay down is a failure. The problem with all of us is we are falling down, but at the same time we are also choosing to keep falling down. Not just staying. Keep falling down. So that is the greatest failure of our lives. So therefore, the importance of Ajamila Charitra is Ajamila Charitra says Bhagavan protects in all forms. And therefore, Ajamila goes through the process of recognition, remorse, repentance, rectification, no repetition of his previous mistakes, and eventually reformation. And therefore, through this process, 6 R's: recognition, recognizing one's mistakes, recognizing Bhagavan, remorse, genuinely being sorry, which will attract Krishna's mercy, His grace, and then repentance, paschatapa, produces change. Repentance has to produce change. If there is no change, it's not repentance. And then as the change starts to happening, repentance goes towards rectification. I start cultivating the right habits, rectify, and then no repetition. My old vasanas are still there, but I need to ensure that I do not repeat my mistakes. Reformation happens. Ajamila spent ages doing this. After that incident of chanting Narayana Nama, picture kafi bhaki tha. We only looked at the interval and we said, hey, Ajamila got moksha. No, Ajamila did not got moksha. After the interval, lot of action happened, lot of drama happened. Ajamila did lot of tapasya and eventually he got moksha. So we need to correctly understand how Ajamila got moksha. 7th skanda, uti, inclination. Bhagavan once again demonstrates how when our inclination is auspicious, we are aligned with Him, we attract His grace. And this is the question that was asked to Shuka by Parikshit. Why is Bhagavan so very partial to all, Indra and all the Devatas? Why is he very impartial to all the Rakshasas all the time? Shuka gives the answer. He is impartial. He is not impartial or partial. He is only impartially partial. He is partial to those who have chosen to align with him, and his door of partiality is open impartially to all. He is given an opportunity and he gives a path to everyone to align with him. Aligning with him is a choice that we need to make, but his door to partiality is open. So therefore Krishna will be partial to each and every one of us as long as our inclinations are auspicious. Prahlada's inclinations were auspicious. Hiranyakashipu's inclinations were inauspicious. So it is in the context of explaining the concept of uti that in the 7th skanda, Prahlada Charita is beautifully described by Shuka Brahma to Parikshit. There is no end to relishing Prahlada Charita. Prahlada, the supreme bhakta, he was tormented by Hiranyakashipu and the Rakshasas. But then, bearing all the pain, Prahlada persisted with his Eka Bhakti. He is the very embodiment of one who is Nitya Yuktaha, who is the very embodiment of Eka Bhakti. And in the process, Prahlada also taught vital lessons to his fellow Rakshasas. When we look at Prahlada's state, now Bhaktilata is growing and we see Prahlada reflects the mood of the Gopikas. We need to see how Prahlada cherishes, how he relishes Krishna Rasa. Kvachit rudati vaikuntha, chinta shabhala chetanaha, kvachit hasati satchinta, hlada udgayati kvachit, nadati kvachit utkantaha, vilajjo nrityanti kvachit tad bhavana yuktaha, tanmayo anuchakaraha. If we do not put the context here, we may think these are Gopikas. Sometimes he cries, thinking of Krishna. Krishna, you are away from me. Sometimes he is bewildered. Sometimes he laughs. Sometimes he dances. Sometimes he sings. Now that is why one who is a great bhakta, the whole world looks at him and says he is mad. Only the bhakta knows the world is mad. But Prahlada was going through the same state. Therefore, Prahlada and the Gopikas are one and the same. If we take the context out, we may think we are discussing Gopika Charita. And this is exactly what the Gopikas did. At one moment, they go into bewilderment. At one moment, they are laughing, thinking of Krishna. At one moment, they were weeping. Suddenly, they start singing. Suddenly, they start acting like Krishna. They become Krishna. Suddenly, they start dancing like Krishna. Prahlada did the same. And Prahlada also taught all his fellow Rakshasas. Kaumara acare prajnyaha dharman bhagavataniha dullabham manusham janma tadapi adruvam artadam. Manusha janma is durlabha. Why are you wasting your time? No, life is a test, no doubt. No, all of us are undergoing a test. Luckily for us, it's an MCQ test to make it easy. But then unfortunately, every question has A, B, C, D, and there is also E. And all the questions have an E option which is the same. All the questions in the test called life, which is an MCQ test, all the questions have E option which is the same across, irrespective of what the question is. Prahlada discovered it. The Gopikas discovered it. Can we discover it? So which means there is only one answer to every question life poses. Krishna, 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 Krishna. And Prahlada chose answers to all the questions as Krishna. Gopikas chose every question posed, answer is Krishna. And therefore, there is no complexity in life. There is only one answer to every question. And the problem is to recognize that there is only one answer. Therefore, Prahlada says, Kaumaram acharet pragya dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma. Manusham janma is durlabha. We all say, life is a test. My test is more difficult than your test. We keep comparing our test without realizing that the test giver is also on our side. He wants us to pass the test and always working with us. And therefore, Prahlada, in the process of teaching everybody, he also then provoked Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu started to torture him because he was not listening. Hiranyakashipu did not understand where did he come from. How come he has all the strength that he has? He is tormented by giving him poison. He is tormented by cutting his limbs. He is tormented by throwing him deep from the atop a hill. He is tormented with all kinds of weapons. But nothing seemed to do anything to him. He is not afflicted by anything. Prahlada looks at Hiranyakashipu and says, Father, when I am filled, when my heart, mind and my very body is filled with Narayana, what harm can happen to me? He says, Tasmat sarveshu bhuteshu dayam kurta sohurdam bhavamasuram unmuchya yaya tushyati adhokshaja. You must always pray, worship that adhokshaja, and he is telling this to Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is fed up now. He says, I cannot take this anymore, what is going on? And finally, the day comes when Prahlada was not reforming as Hiranyakashipu wanted, and Hiranyakashipu drags him into his hall, and a hall which is filled with grandeur, with pillars everywhere, and he looks at Prahlada and he says, So aham vikattamanasya shirah kaya haramite Gopayeta haristvatya yaste sharanamikhitam. Hiranyakashipu is really mad at Prahlada and he is agitated, he is furious, and he looks at Prahlada and says, So aham vikattamanasya. No, you have been boasting so far that your Narayana is everywhere, he is all in all, and therefore I am now going to sever your head. Shirahtaya haramite. I am going to sever. Let me see how your protector is now going to come and protect you. You say he is everywhere. If he is everywhere, he should be right here now to protect you. Therefore, I am going to cut your head. Let me see if your protector is going to watch you getting destroyed by me, or he is going to come for you. Gopayeta haristvatya. Let me see. Let your Hari protect. Yaste sharanamipshita. Now, as Prahlada was being threatened, Bhagavan was listening to this, and Bhagavan was now becoming furious. Bhagavan can tolerate anything but he will never tolerate the apacharas done to his bhaktas. And Gopayate, Gopayeta Haristwa, his gopikas can attain him. We must constantly remember, we long for Bhagavan, but Bhagavan longs to attain us more than we can ever think of our longing for Bhagavan. The gopikas of Vraja longed for Krishna, but then Krishna's longing for gopikas was even more. Gopikas were enduring the pain of separation. Krishna was also enduring the pain of separation. And it is in that pain there is real sweetness, that real rasa. Therefore, Nrsimhavatara in many ways is a seed sown for the Yadava Nrsimhavatara, where just like how Nrsimha protects Prahlada, Yadava Simha shall protect the Gopikas. Let us continue to contemplate on the glorious Nrsimhavatara. And as we travel down all the way to that sacred land of Mathura, may Nrsimha continue to be our protective shield, protecting us so that he, the Nrsimha, can lead us to the darshana of Yadava Simha. Ugram Veeram Mahavishnu Jvalantam Sarto Nrsimham Bhishanam Bhadram Mrityo. Jai Sri Krishna. 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 So I asked you to remember a few things. What were the... You made a list of. Well, good. No. Okay. There are three things that we need to remind ourselves, and we will see how this gets connected. Now, we have been chanting Vasudeva mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is a reason why we are chanting. Can anyone guess why we are chanting the Vasudeva mantra? So who chanted the Vasudeva mantra for the first time? And who gave this much we know. So we are chanting the Vasudeva mantra. So let us keep that. And there was one other thing I said we should remember along with this. Avatar of Prithu and how he cultivated Mother Earth. These two get connected when we travel now. Now the reason why I asked everyone to chant Vasudeva Mahamantra is we discussed the Dhruva Charita. Dhruva did tapasya after getting the mantra from his Guru Narada. Where did Dhruva do this tapasya? Mathura. It is in Mathura that Dhruva did the tapasya on Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It is in Mathura that Bhagavan reveals his beautiful, enchanting form to Dhruva. The reason why I wanted all of us to chant as many times as possible is he will give us the same darshana as he gave to Dhruva in Mathura as we reach. When we travel, it's going to be almost 7 hours of travel. From here all the way to Vrindavana. We are going to have lots of fun, no doubt. All the children out here continue to have fun. But I also mentioned, how many of you have seen the Yatra booklet? And in that In the travel, I mentioned something. Satsang on the wheels. So, satsang on the wheels means entertainment and enlightenment. This is the beauty of satsang. It's not only enlightenment without entertainment. It is not only entertainment with no enlightenment. Both have to come together. And we have to have fun. We also have to do sadhana. So therefore, we'll all sync our clocks between the buses. Before reaching Mathura, 1 hour before reaching Mathura, we all start chanting the Vasudeva Mahamantra in chorus, in all unison. Let the world listen to our chanting. The people in one bus should listen to the chanting of the people in the other one buses. So conserve your energies, chant the Vasudeva Mantra. As we reach Mathura, let's continue to chant. That will take care of whatever. I don't think we have a gap in our count, but whatever is there, we will cross the 5 lakh chanting that we wanted to do. So that is one. Now the other connection that we need to make, we discussed the Prithu Charitra very briefly. Prithu, when he started cultivating Bhumi, the first cultivation happened in Mathura. So therefore, Prithu Charitra also, Prithu Avatara also has a connection to Mathura. There are many other things. I don't want to steal the thunder for tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to be in Mathura. Let me also announce, Krishna Jananam is going to happen tomorrow. So tomorrow in the morning, we are going to, obviously we also have to do justice to our Saptaham as well. So Krishna Jananam cannot occupy the only spot, it will occupy the prime spot, but we will continue the journey and relish, and more details we will discuss in the morning tomorrow in the satsang. But today, after we have our breakfast prasad, we must all quickly check out, and then as soon as possible we must get to the buses. You are going to announce.
Yeah. Breakfast is ready, please. Please go start with breakfast, and then immediately we check out by 9:45. We have to leave. Same bus count as it.